at 7:03 on Monday, October 24th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Director Radbach.
Here.
Director Lohman.
Here.
Director Clark.
Here.
Director Penrose.
Here.
Director Slater Carter.
Present.
Director Dye.
Here. Okay, close tabs. Oh, trying to pull the agenda up here. Let me see. Let me see. First is going from memory, public comment, as I recall. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Do we have?
You're correct.
Do we have, thank you, do we have public comment on items not on the regular agenda? I don't see any hands. So I'm going to assume that there is no public comment. Sounds good. And then looking at Sam's cleaning service, that's the wrong one. Sam cleans water. I will say that Pumpkin Festival was apparently a success from all the traffic. Which is good. And I keep seeing that we are, in theory, going to have a wet winter. So I've got my fingers crossed. But I'm not worried this year because Sam is, everything's working, knock on wood, right now. And so hopefully everything else is in all the districts. It's about time to get this drought over. So next item is, please help. Keishan, what's next?
Consent agenda.
The consent agenda, which is a number of items.
Chair Senator Carter, would you let me to share my screen? I can.
No, I've got it up now. We've got approved minutes of September 26, 2022. Approved disbursements for October 24, 2022. Monthly review, revenue and expense report for period ending September 30, 2022. And ratification of resolution 1-2022, continuation of virtual teleconference meetings per Assembly Bill AB 361 for the period of October 14, 2022 through November 13, 2022. Does anybody want any items pulled or discussed later? Seeing no hands, do we have a motion? Barbara
has her hands raised.
Barbara, I can't hear you.
Okay, I do not want something pulled, but I have a question. We have moved the status of the infrastructure projects reports to the consent calendar. Are you saying that they're under monthly revenue expense report, or shouldn't they have their own letter of the alphabet under there?
It is as an attachment report, but we don't have a separate staff report for it. It was earlier being included as a part of the manager's report. We didn't have any elaborate details on that, but just a spreadsheet. And at the request of the finance committee, and we moved it to the consent agenda as a part of revenue expense report. It was the same even in the last meeting. So
I know, but it confused me. I mean, is there any reason we couldn't? Because it's not really part of the monthly revenue and expense report, because we're talking about. Well, it sort of is. I think just the infrastructure reports, we could put them in the consent agenda, but have their own letter of the alphabet underneath that. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that would be okay, except that the staff report will not be elaborate. It will just be saying attached is the
Right,
report.
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, we could do that from our next meeting.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
So are you making a second to approve these with that change noted?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Oh, I was making, you asked
You were making the motion, not the second. I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Thank you, Matthew. Motion by Barbara Dye and second by Matthew. A roll call, please.
Director Radvac,
Yes.
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Penrose,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter,
Yes.
Director Dye.
yes.
And we are on to item 4, regular business, status of the annual comprehensive financial report submitted to Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, for fiscal year ended June 30, 2021.
Okay, the annual comprehensive financial report needs to be submitted to Government Finance Officers Association. And the SAM had done it last time in 2011. And for various reasons after that, SAM decided to just pursue the regular business financial statement, which is BFS, which is just the regular audit. And maybe it was the manager's choice, or maybe it was that there were too many things to be addressed because the requirement of the ACFR, the annual comprehensive financial report, became more and more elaborate. A lot of statistical requirements started getting added, and therefore maybe SAM staff at that point of time felt that it was too much of work. But nevertheless, it was not pursued since 2011. But last year, finance team, in consultation with the finance committee, decided to go ahead and pursue the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year which ended June 30th, 2021. And we submitted it to the Government Finance Officers Association on December 31st, 2021. The GFOA typically takes about 6 to 9 months to review the application. I believe it's 9 months, sorry, to review the application, and announced on October 5th that the annual comprehensive financial report submitted met the requirements to be awarded Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Now, this award is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting. And this attainment represents a significant accomplishment by a government agency, its management, the finance team, and the finance committee. And I would say all this credit goes to, we have 2 people who are right now present amongst us mostly. Entire credit would go to our finance officer, George Evans, and Peter Medina. These 2 have literally worked 7 days a week last year and made sure that this happens. And of course, with the support of the finance committee. So I would like to really congratulate the staff for all this, for all the hard work that they've done. And we've attached the certificate, and we should be getting a plaque very soon. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, staff is here to answer.
Okay, let's go to the board first. Barbara, your hand is up.
Yes, congratulations to all who worked so hard on this. One of the advantages and one of the reasons that we supported doing this was that it would expedite our audit. We would get our audit done more quickly. Has that indeed proven to be the case?
It has, but it's not necessarily one of the requirements, because in the past, since 2011, we've done the BFS or the regular audit, and still we've been able to achieve it before December 31st. It's actually not mandatory that we have to submit the ACFR by December 31st. There's always a month or 2 extensions possible. From the date you submit it, they take about 9 months to review it and get back to us. But yes, it did help us, but it's not mandatory, I would say.
Well, that's not what I was asking. I mean, one of the reasons why we authorized spending the extra time to do this report was that it was result in a quicker action, I'm moving us up in the queue for our audit because all three agencies need finished audit to do their audits. And I just wondered if that happened. Is that happening did the audit come through more quickly because you did this extra financial report?
Go ahead, Peter, if you'd like to answer that question. I don't know if you raised your hand.
Yeah, no. So in terms of answering the question, yes. It did. If you guys, I know it seems like so long ago, and I think that's a good thing. But the 1819 audit, the 1920 were both issued after the, generally speaking, 6-month time period after fiscal year end for the closing period and the audit process to begin. Because of this, we were not given the highest priority from our auditor because we did not have a very good track record of having a solid TB. So letting them know that we were going for the ACFR was kind of a surprise to them, and they were on board after some discussion. But yes, it does cause them to move us up further in the queue because yes, there is the 12/31 deadline. Yes, we do have extension periods, but we were adamant that we did not want to use them if we didn't have to. Going forward, yes, it will continue to put us higher in the queue, as opposed to going for a BFS, because they being the auditors typically prioritize their ACFR client ahead of the BFS because of that time period. But it also matters as far as if a client is going for an ACFR, but there are circumstances which they know that they will not be on time, they won't necessarily obligate themselves to going earlier in the process. But for last year, it did, because we had proved from the year before that we were capable, and for this year as well, it is also going at the same, generally speaking, the same time frame. So we've gone through quite a field work as of last week. So that's also moving forward.
So the answer is yes. The fact that we chose to do this extra report also had the extra benefit, in addition to the award and so forth, of expediting the regular audit.
In my opinion, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any other hands up. Oh, Peter.
I also did have another comment, which I jumped in to answer the question, but Kishen's graciousness, caused, he says some very nice things about George and I, but also too, I want the board to know, and this was a major push from Kishen. The finance team, when it was first discussed, we thought we were about a year away from going for the honor. It's a big deal in the municipal finance world. The ACFR is the highest honor for financial reporting. You don't get the award if you have a qualified or a modified opinion. So first and foremost, reporting has to be correct. And so we've taken a lot of time to get us to that place, and a lot of that credit goes to George. But in terms of this push for the additional reporting, because the BFS is all that is required. The ACFR is above and beyond what that normal reporting looks like. And there's a lot that goes into it that's just outside of the financial statements, as well as the footnotes and the MD&A. There was time that was put into it by staff, and said George at that time was really kind of by himself. We brought on Callie now, and she's been wonderful. But I said we were all kind of a little worried that we would go through this process, and we didn't want to have an egg on our face at the end of it as far as not being able to meet the deadline. But really said Kishen believed in us, and that gave me the confidence to then push the process forward along with him. So thank you, Kishan, for having that vision for us. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You did this process last year and got the award last year as well, right?
This is for fiscal year 2021, correct?
Okay, so this is the second year in a row, so you deserve congratulations for getting it 2 years.
We are going for it for the current fiscal year ended 21-22. We are going through that process now.
Correction, Barbara.
Year 22-23.
Yeah, correction, Barbara. We didn't get an award. We didn't get an award last year. This is for the last financial year. We only submitted the requirements last year.
This is the first recipient of
This is
year.
Yes, it takes 9 months for them to evaluate and decide whether we are eligible for an award or not.
Harvey.
For longtime followers of Sam's finances, this is an incredible step in the right direction, and I want to congratulate the whole financial staff. So, good work.
Thank you. And I want to as well. It's thinking of where we were at one point behind on 3 audits and struggling to keep up. This team has made remarkable progress, and Keishan's faith in the team and knowledge that they could do it in spite of their very rational self-doubts, because you just have to go, I don't know. And just doing it has really, in my opinion, is a real achievement. It will help Sam's reputation in the financial community and other communities as well going forward. And so I think under Keishan's leadership and this team, Sam is really moving forward, and congratulations. And I look forward to seeing a whole wall full of those ACFR plaques.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Uh-oh. Come on, computer. And so moving on to item B, status update on non-domestic wastewater source control program permitting.
SAM board decided in the month of January, early part of this year, to continue the implementation of the existing ordinance, which approved and allows SAM to implement non-domestic wastewater source control program. So as a result of it, SAM board authorized the general manager to enter into a contract with TASC to conduct these facility inspections and implement permits. So as a start, we actually went and inspected 10 businesses, and we found out that 9 of them definitely would need permitting in different categories. The 10th one was not a non-domestic waste discharger, and based on the inspection, that was what was decided, and therefore a permit was not required at all. So the 9 permits were actually issued to all of them. We've got the list, which is attached in the staff report in your packet. And they've all been doing very well. We've got good feedback from them. And as a part of the permit, they're also required to submit self-monitoring reports every quarter. So the first quarterly self-monitoring reports was due by October 15th. And as of today, all of them, except for one who had some technical issues in submitting the report, I would say, considering that, all of them have actually done the self-monitoring and submitted the reports. So these reports have been evaluated by TASC. We have Tim and Leo from TASC are also present today, and they have evaluated and have not found any abnormalities or anything which requires immediate correction. So we will continue to monitor it and work along with the permittees. So if there's any questions, staff is here, as well as we have gentlemen from TASC Consulting, Tim and Leo out here.
Barbara?
Yes, I noticed that in the staff report for tonight, it says that that you've added a provision reserving the right to adjust the discharge fee to cover the additional wastewater treatment costs. I just want to note that that provision requires that if additional wastewater treatment costs are to be assessed, it requires that the board hear the case for it and vote and approve that additional fee.
Thank you. Any other comments? Looking for hands. Matthew?
I noticed that the Harbor District is the only one listed as needing to supply quarterly samplings. Why is that, and how many places are sampled in the harbor?
I mean, why is it quarterly? Is that your question, Matthew?
Yeah, first question is why is it quarterly when most of them are annually, and well, Half Moon Bay Distillery is twice a year, but
Yeah, that is
the harbor is 4 times a year.
Yeah, that is based on the inspection that we've done at the Harbor District, and we found that it requires more close monitoring because of the wet well and because of all the fog and other things which come into the wet well, and the type of loads coming out from there. So we felt that it is, this first year at least, we felt that it's better to monitor it pretty close. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank
So is there a single and carry effluent from all of these other the breweries and distilleries, et cetera?
Come again, could you please repeat your question? You're breaking.
Is there a single source that comes out of the harbor that does not include the output from the brewing companies and the distillery and those other ones that are in Princeton?
Yeah, that's typically the wet well. We normally take the samples from the harbor wet well, which takes all the discharge from the restaurant as well as from the boats or from the barges, which the boat guys come in and then, discharge it out from there to the wet well through a discharge pipe. So yes, we can, when you take a sample from the harbor wet well, then you can definitely say that it's not from the breweries, distilleries, or wineries.
Thank you.
Did you want to add anything to that, Tim or Leo?
No, Kishan, I think you hit it on the head. The only comment I would make is that Harbor District, we were a little bit behind in permitting them. Their quarterly report isn't due until November 15th.
Okay. Any more comments? Seeing none, I will make a comment, which is tangential to the item. And everyone probably remembers the angst and anger and upset and down and out problems that we had just a few months ago over this non-domestic wastewater source control program. And certainly Jeremy worked hard on bringing sense to all of it. But, and we made some important changes to our ordinance and updates to our operations. I was just sitting here thinking, I've heard all these years, SAM can't work because there's an even number of votes. I want to say my opinion anymore is because there is an even number of votes, we have to reach a level of consensus that takes into account everybody's point of view and find a way to work it out. And I really think we are a leader in this. Instead of having a single vote ramrod things through, we are an example of how things can work with people who really want to find solutions. And so I'm very proud of this board and the staff and the community for finding a way to work this out. It's goes against all the expert opinions that without an odd number of votes and a tiebreaker vote, we couldn't do it, but we did, and we are going to continue to work on through and make progress for the public health of the coast side. So thank you. Item C, discuss and consider adopting the proposed revised purchasing policy to replace the policy approved on September 25th, 2017.
So we do have a purchasing policy in place, which was adopted in 2017, September 2017. Then when staff reviewed the existing purchasing policy, we felt that since times have gone by, we felt that there is a need to amend this existing policy, basically so that it could give more flexibility on procurement of, say, non-construction related professional technical consulting services, and also to probably increase the authorization limits for general manager and for staff. So this was discussed in the finance committee meeting last month, and certain recommendations were made by the finance committee members. In fact, these amendments to the purchasing policy was done by staff in consultation with our general counsel, Jeremy. And this was discussed, as I said, in the finance committee meeting last month, and all the comments have been incorporated and modified. We did get a minor comment from Director Dye, and those can be incorporated. We have no objection to that. It was just that we didn't have adequate time to change it and repost it. But I'm reconfirming that those comments are minimal and we can definitely take care of it.
So if the board would like, I can just show, after Director Dyer's comment, I can actually show the two very minor comments and ensure that no one has any concerns with them.
And I just want to express my compliments on the new policy, purchasing policy. I think it's excellent and a great update. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to share my screen just so I can show the board what the, there's two little tweaks, just so you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I've given you control.
Okay, I think I've got it. Can the board see the purchasing policy? There's should be, does everyone see at the bottom, there's footnote 1. Can folks see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. One of Director Dye's requested changes is in footnote 1 at the very bottom, and she wanted that just to clarify that, that the requirements had to be within either the annual or amended annual budget, just to clarify that SAM has the ability to amend their budget as well. So that was one change. And the other was here that you see in red. Just a clarification that as to the general manager's authority, that the procurement is part of an approved budget. And so I just added that clarification language, and Kishan didn't have any concern with it. So that's something that I think is required by the JPA agreement anyway, but certainly no problem stating it more clearly. So I guess the recommendation to the board would be to approve the revised purchasing policy with the two revisions just demonstrated.
Did you have another question, Dr. Dye? Your hand is raised.
No, I was just going to be very pleased to make the motion to approve the amended policy, the policy for the purchasing policy, the new purchasing policy with those two minor amendments.
Good.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Director Radback,
Yes.
Director Lohman. Director Lohman, I can't hear you. You're muted. Okay. I take it as a yes since he's raised his hand. Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Penrose,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter,
Yes.
Director Dye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye there too.
Okay, we heard you finally. Thank you.
And moving on to item D, authorize general manager to issue a purchase order to USA Shade for the supply and installation of a shade canopy for chemical feed pumps in the amount of $45,951.80.
Yeah, as some of you might have noticed when during your visit to the plant that we have the chemical area which houses pumps, which distribute sodium hypochlorite and sodium bisulfite, which are very important functions in the process of the plant. Sodium hypochlorite, which adds chlorine, and dechlorination is through sodium bisulfite, which are both important requirements for the plant process. And right now, these are all the pumps and the piping, everything is in open to sky, and they are subjected to ultraviolet light, wind, rain, and all sorts of things, whatever you can imagine. And therefore, this discussion has been in place for quite some time, and we added that in last year's budget to have a shade canopy or some sort of a protective cover for these pumps and the equipment's pumps, pipes, and other flow meters and other ancillary equipments, so that we could get a longer life from these equipments. So we reached out to various shade manufacturers and finally obtained a proposal from USA Shade for the design and installation of this shade canopy. So this shade canopy, I've attached sample conceptual drawings and photographs of this shade canopy. This will be engineered, custom designed to our requirement, and the proposal is attached. If anybody has any questions, staff is here to answer any questions.
Looking for hands? Public? Matthew, thank you.
Hi. I noticed in the responsibilities, foundations and grout. I assume that means if there's new does this require new foundation work, or and where does the grout come in?
Yeah, Matthew, from whatever little I understood, because I don't know if it was my internet or yours, but you're breaking in between. But I understand you had concerns about the grout and installation. Yes, we have to provide new grouts. We have, we would do the design part of it and get it blessed by them. But it requires grouting foundation.
I'm actually using my cell phone because the microphone on my Dell laptop repeatedly fails during Zoom meetings. So I'm using the phone. I hope it comes through clearly. I also noticed that in the proposal, there are numerous things like the securing bolts that are not listed as going to be performed by USA Shade. So is this the $45,951? Is that the actual total price for this, except for the grouting and foundation, or will there be some more expenses?
There will be some more expenses, but not from USA Shade. We will have to purchase these anchor bolts. We will have to get this, get the engineering done once we get the loads. So those will be the additional expenses. And that'll be known only after we pursue this project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. This looks like a good cost-effective project. How long do you expect the unit to last?
The manufacturer has given us a 10-year warranty for any wear and tear of the material. It's a HDPE shade, and any damage, anything happens, because you never know because of the winds, although they are designed for very heavy winds, just in case there are any failure, they give us warranty for 10 years. But typically a structure like this lasts for about 15 to 20 years in wherever they have installed at other places. But considering the highly corrosive atmosphere environment as well as the high wind loads that we get. We did not know, but at least we are safe for the next 10 years once we install it.
Okay. Director Penrose.
Yes, correct me, please, if I am wrong, and I, in all likelihood, am. $45,000 for an umbrella is what this looks like to me. A stationary umbrella, but it doesn't have sides. It doesn't have a front or a back. It's just got a top. A wind on the coast doesn't necessarily come from the top to the bottom. It goes sideways and drives rain sideways. I don't see how this is protecting anything except the top of the equipment. And please explain how I'm wrong.
Yeah, it is. Director Penrose, it looks that way. It looks like an umbrella, but it is engineered. It is pretty difficult to have a canopy in that location where there are pipes going all around. And it is cantilevered at places, and it is cantilevered and grouted at places wherever it is possible. And it also has to take care of high winds. Now, just to give you an idea, we did a very low cost canopy or like a big umbrella for our rotary dump thickener, which costed about $8,000. And that tore apart in about less than a year because of heavy winds. So that's why it's more important to have it engineered, custom built to various requirements, seismic, wind loads, and other requirements. That's why it's expensive. The design part is also expensive. Did it answer your question to some extent?
Yeah, it does. It sounds to me like it was the design that was the expensive part of it, not the actual structure. I'm wondering if the structure couldn't have had some sort of sides.
Yeah, mind you, the fabric is also expensive because the fabric has to be UV resistant. And the fabric that we've chosen is about 94% UV resistant. That's why the fabric, which is made of HDPE, and the particular color shade has been selected so that it gets the maximum UV protection.
If a sides made of anything would be better than no sides at all, I would think. I don't know.
Yep, we had the vendor come in and take a look at it with his technical expertise is what we went through. And the best way the wind blows and the rain comes is what they diagnosed it, and they felt that one side should be open so that staff can go in and do all the servicing requirements. If we have to pull out a pump or anything like that, then we need enough space. So considering all that is what that conceptual design came about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, Keishan. So the design takes into deflecting the wind and directing the wind and the rain when it is coming in from the south, which is its most common directional input. Occasionally we get storms from the north, but mostly they're from the west and the south.
Correct. Now, yeah, just imagine if we had sides, then we would have to have ventilation, and a lot of other provisions becomes a little more complicated.
Isn't the primary purpose of this for solar insulation to keep the sun off rather than rain?
Ultraviolet, yes, I would say sun and rain and wind. Yeah, we tried. Talking of solar, we tried a solar panel. We tried to see whether we could have a solar panel there and generate some amount of energy and but it was not penciling out. It was too small an area to provide any solar things, and it was not working out well.
And Keishan, what does the damage to the pipes is the solar, the UV, and not the rain, right? So because these are plastic pipes, they won't rain. So we won't have the same kind of corrosion that we did with the bus duct.
Exactly. That's right.
Okay. Well, it sounds, and it's blue?
No, it's not blue.
I
It's
think that's the color I saw in the staff report. That was,
no, that was only that was just the photographs of an installation which they had it at a different place. But I guess it's going to be like a desert sand or something, which because the color determines the amount of UV protection that it can handle. I think we've chosen a desert sand or a brown, desert brown, which is close to 92, 94%.
good, thank you. All right, do I see any more questions? I don't. General manager's report.
No, we need somebody to vote for it and give us a authorization.
Oh, we need a vote. Okay,
I will make the motion to authorize the general manager for this purchase of $145,951.80.
And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Is it 145 or 45? Just
It is 45.
45.
45,951 and 80 cents.
Right.
I love precision. And a second by Harvey, thank you. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Director Radback,
Yes.
Director Lohman,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Penrose,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter,
Yes.
Director Dye.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we move on to item 5, general manager's report.
Yep. I'd like to start off the manager's report by saying that we had a fantastic response at the Half Moon Bay Pumpkin Festival on the 15th and 16th. Sewer Authority Midcoastside had a booth there. We had a staff on both the days, Saturdays and Sundays. We had Tony, Aaron, Susie, and Callie managing full-time the booth right from 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning until late evening. And I have Aaron, who's going to give us a short report on the Pumpkin Festival. Over to you, Aaron.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well tonight. I'm going to try to share my screen, and hopefully we can see something good. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
No.
No.
Dang it. I don't have good luck with these. All right, let's try this again. No, that's not it.
You want to try your backup?
I'm trying. I'm sorry.
No worry. Oh, I just saw a butterfly windscreen. What a fun thing we could consider in the future. Anyway, Aaron, why don't we just keep moving and
No, I can share the screen.
oh,
Okay, let's let Kishan share the screen.
Yeah, let's do the backup, share the screen, okay?
I apologize for that. I do not always have good luck with technology. Well, let me just say that the Pumpkin Festival booth was a lot of fun. Had great company there. I was with Tony all day on Saturday. And it was a great opportunity to be able to ask the community more about wastewater. And so as you can see on the top there, we have come play our poopy game. And so it was wonderful to be able to reach out to the community and say, hey, you want to play a poopy game? And they would just respond with these quirky looks and surprise and curiosity all at once. And we would have a lot of fun. And I don't know if you can see in the bottom left photo where it says Sewer Authority Midcoastside, there is a colorful wheel that I am standing behind. kids and adults would come and spin that wheel, and it would have questions about wastewater, whether it's should you flush hair, or do you know where Sam is located, and different questions like that. And then according to the questions, they would get a little beanbag. As you can see in the bottom right corner, there's another picture where you can see red buckets with a black top. Those are actual portable potties, functional portable potties. And so we would have them take the beanbags and toss them into the potty. And then after they tossed 1, 2, or 3, they would reach into another potty and grab either candy or a special scraper, or as you can see in the middle, giant microbes. It was a huge hit. I was very well pleased with how everybody loved it and were curious. And when you gave away one of the microbes, people were like, oh, they're so cute. And one person got Ebola, and they were just so happy that they got Ebola. It was a very, very fun time. And I was really impressed with our youth. Oh my goodness, they knew so much about what to flush and what not to flush. It was really, really cool to see that. But we dropped a lot of knowledge that day, and I know Callie did a huge effort on this. Susan also, and just Tony was amazing. Appreciating Kishan to help us get this going. It was just a really great experience for everybody.
Good.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments from the audience, the board? Seeing none, I will say thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, Keishan's leadership and the teamwork involved in this, making Sam more than just a sort of invisible place, but bringing up public health and bringing it into the mainstream is so important. And it, having our posters and so on. And I want to thank Callie, because when I was in and I saw the spin around, I noticed that they had a stop that said you should not put wet wipes, the unflushable wipes into the sewer, into the toilet. And I suggested that we add the Kleenex as a product as well, because it's made from bamboo and it's made extra strong. So goodness knows when it gets all combined with the FOG, what kind of fun things we have growing in our pipes. And so immediately Callie put it in there, and it was so cool. And so thank you guys.
That was Callie's idea, and then she went ahead and bought this Wheel of Fortune, and we call it Wheel of Fortune or Ferris wheel. So that was a super hit.
That it was, and I hope you're going to do it again next year. I think our public outreach and our public image is one of the most important things we have to keep people aware in the community of how important public health is. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And any other questions on the manager's report that we've submitted every month?
I don't see any hands.
Oh,
Moving on.
Matthew's hands are up.
There you are.
I noticed in the daily summaries that I believe it was 4 days in a row in early September, PG&E asked for people to curtail energy use, usually for the afternoon, like 4 to 9 p.m. And in each case, Sam went to generators. So I'm wondering, are those PG&E curtailment requests mandatory? Do you have to go to the generators? And what happens if a generator fails or we run out of diesel or whatever and we can't do it? Can Sam turn at least part of the electricity back on if needed?
We can. To answer your questions, it was not mandatory, but it was preferable. And that was a request from PG&E because the load to the state was so high that they said that if you can shut it off, then we'll be saving power for somebody else. And that also helped us because we had entered into an energy saving agreement with another company, which allows these things to be done frequently, by which we get some incentives, like we get paid back. But we also had that option that if there was a failure on the generator, then we can switch back to PG&E power. So that option was available. It was not mandatory, but we felt that since the community required our power to be off so that others could use it, more people who are more in want of it, we decided to go ahead with it.
Thank you. I think that's really good because Sam uses a lot of electricity, and it makes a big difference to not have shutdowns across the state. And we do it at home. From 4 to 9, we don't run electric stuff too. And I think millions of people in the state do it. So it is appropriate that Sam helps out as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, attorney's report.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a couple of items. Could probably keep this pretty short. I did provide a memo on SB 1439 as it relates to campaign contributions. And given the time of year we have right now, I figured it might be something people would be thinking about. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them either here or offline. But the memo I provided in the packet should summarize what the changes are. Bottom line is, if you have a matter pending, and for a year afterwards, if you've received over $250 from the entity who's either entering into a contract or seeking a permit, then you probably need, I say probably because not all contracts are covered, but most are. You probably need to recuse yourself. And for Sam was already subject to the Levine Act, so it's not entirely new, but it's now been expanded to agencies like city councils and county boards of supervisors that previously were not subject to it. So can I answer any questions on that, or I can move on to the other items as appropriate?
I see
I have a question.
Matthew's hand and then Greg.
As directors don't actually run for the SAM board and they don't campaign for it, do we come under the purview of this? We're not, we run in our individual districts or in the city, and those contributions, which I've never gotten any, but are specifically for those positions at more local agencies, but we still come under elected, that definition.
Yeah, see, actually what changed was previously it was all elected boards. So if you had a board that was entirely elected, like a city council, it was not subject to the Levine Act. It was only these kind of hybrid boards like SAM and like a couple of my other clients that would, so it was a subset of the total number of local agencies. But now the revision is, it applies to everybody. And so, yes. And so if you never got any campaign contributions or campaign contributions over $250, it doesn't apply to you. But if you have had a campaign contribution from someone who comes and says, hey, who's got a matter that the SAM board is going to take action on, like a contractor, you'd need to recuse while the matter is pending and for a year following the action taken.
Thank you.
Greg.
I'm not following part of this, but Jeremy, I appreciate your bringing this to our attention. So I have 2.5 questions.
Okay.
Does this include employees of firms who have an interest in a decision? That's one
no,
question.
this applies to board members, decision makers, right?
No, that's not my point. So if you receive a campaign contribution from a consultant who is a member of a consulting firm, and the consulting firm is going to get a contract, does this campaign contribution include a prohibition from receiving contributions from employees of the vendors and parties who are affected by the decision?
That would be a very fact-specific kind of a consideration. But if you're getting, first of all, when you have a matter that's pending, there's also a prohibition for while it's pending and 12 months afterwards. So there's also a prohibition on that contractor from making contributions if they know they have a matter that's likely to be decided. And I say matter, contract, permit, license, whatever. So your question is a little bit different. You're asking it, okay, well, it's not the entity itself, it's one of the employees. And so that would be a fact-specific issue that we'd probably have to take a look at to see if that was a covered contribution or not. If it's somebody just in their personal capacity, just happens, you work for IBM and IBM's got a contract pending and, and you're, just an employee of IBM and you make a contribution, I think in those kind of circumstances, the Levine Act wouldn't apply. But if it's, the president, the CEO of the board, maybe it does.
Now, you keep talking about after. It would seem to me that this prohibition should be you can't make a contribution for a year prior to the date of the vote or the decision.
Yeah.
But you use the word after.
Right. So it's afterwards, and also while the matter is pending. So that's the and I lay that out in the memo. It was only 3 months for, for example, either soliciting contributions or for someone who might be solicited. There was a 3-month bar afterwards. It was like, well, it's pending, and then 3 months afterwards, but they changed that to 12 months with this recent legislation.
All right, I just don't get it. I mean, I would think you'd want to prevent the bribery before the decision, not after.
Well, I think that's true. But yeah, it's. I think what catches that is the fact that the matter is pending. So while the matter is pending, you can't make the contribution. Pending.
All right, and then the half question I don't expect you to answer, but as a member of the MCC, I have to ask if this applies to our agency, which is only an advisory body. So technically we don't have any authority over anything, but I'm just curious. So I'll ask our counsel.
That's probably because that's one of those ones where you get in gray areas where you have appointed bodies. It does apply to some planning commissions. And so.
No, we're elected. We're elected. We just don't have the ability to approve anything. We can only recommend.
Yeah, I would direct that one to your legal counsel. But for Sam, this does apply to Sam. If someone received a campaign contribution and that entity who is seeking Sam to take some action, that the individual board member who received the contribution would need to recuse.
Well, thanks for bringing this up.
Sure. No, it's during election season, I thought it might be helpful. So, and it's got it has some people, paying attention. So, okay. So the other issue that just briefly, I don't know how many of you go, Sam doesn't do Prop 218, but member agencies do. And so one of the issues that's been a real challenge statewide is law firms and other opportunists kind of swooping in after the fact of once rates are changed or increased and bringing lawsuits, class action lawsuits. And it's been a challenge statewide. And so Aqua, working with CASA, is working on legislation to require, if members of the public have concerns or ratepayers have concerns about their whatever the rate increase is going to be, the whole idea is that, okay, well, one, you need to protest because that's the process in Prop 218, but also tell the board what your issue is, right? Because a lot of times, maybe there was a mistake. Maybe there's something that people hadn't thought of. At least give the board the opportunity to potentially address it. So I don't know. It's kind of in its formative stages, but it seems like a pretty good idea. I'm involved in the drafting of the language. How far it makes it in the legislature, I guess we'll see. But it is something that both CASA and Aqua are working on. So I wanted to make you aware of that. And last but not least, actually is last, just plain old last, AB 361, which we just approved, and most of you have probably heard this. The governor's state of emergency will expire on February 28th, 2023, unless something changes, which I don't think it will. And so that leaves us with the requirement to likely go back to in-person meetings as of March 1st, 2023. There is a new piece of legislation, AB 2449, but I don't think the board's going to find it very helpful. It only allows deviation from the normal rules for teleconferencing, essentially in emergency circumstances. Like, so for example, you have a personal emergency as a director. The board would be allowed to vote once you state on the record what your emergency is. A quorum of the board would have to be present at SAM, and they'd have to vote to allow individual members to participate remotely. So all the other lawyers I've talked to have said that, except in rare circumstances where someone is planning to attend and an emergency happens, 2449 is not going to do much for you. So just want to make the board aware of that, and maybe at a future board meeting we can discuss, what that transition looks like.
Boo-hoo. All right, Barbara.
It seems as if the public has really enjoyed the ability to, ask questions, to come to meetings remotely. It sounds as if the legislation is now focused most on the participation of the actual members of the body. Does it affect the ability of a jurisdiction to set up, some kind of hybrid system whereby people can listen and speak via Zoom?
Not at all. Yeah. So members of the public, it's not required, but the agency certainly has the ability to do that. The greater restriction is going to apply to board members, right? And the idea being they're the governing body, and so. I'm actually a little surprised. I kind of expected something to have extended AB 361, and nothing ever really did. And so, but yeah, the focus right now is on board members. But SAM, if it desired to do so, could continue to allow access to the public via virtual, but we would need to have the board meeting. And there isn't the old teleconferencing rules. You can do it remotely. You just have to put a notice on the agenda where each board member is going to be participating remotely. You can do that. It just, in theory, if you're participating in your bunny slippers at home and you're noticed on the agenda, a member of the public could show up and ask to join you, which most people don't really want. So that is the downside of using the pre-COVID teleconferencing rules, which already do provide some flexibility.
Thank you.
Sure.
Moving right along, directors' reports. Do we have any reports? Well, as an aside, I will make a report. I have seen a number of articles recently about recycling and the fact that plastic does not get recycled. It's about 10% of the plastic that is put into the recycling stream that actually gets recycled. And I think that's not anything this board or even our local boards are going to do anything about, but I think we should all keep an eye on it. It says that the unrecycled plastic is one of the biggest polluters of the ocean. So something to keep an eye on. Do we have any other directors' reports? Seeing none. Topics for future board consideration. I have two. One, I think we have to start soon talking about how we want to do these hybrid meetings. I agree with Barbara. I think we have gotten better public participation by having hybrid meetings and with having Zoom meetings, and I love having our staff participate in our meetings as well and not having to come in after a long day, but be able to pay attention to what we're doing. So I would like to have a board meeting, an agenda item about how we are going to do this. Coastside County Water District apparently is doing hybrid meetings. They've opened up their meeting room. Harvey and I both heard that at the candidates forum the other night. And so there are some districts who are taking the lead, and good, we can just copy them. The other is the probable, I want to have an agenda item, and this is a long title, so we'll have to shorten it, but on the probable impact for SAM of inflation, recession, or stagflation, and the probable impact on the budget and strategies to stay financially and structurally sound. Some of us are old enough, most here are not, to remember what was going on in the early 70s. And there were a lot of problems for a lot of businesses and government agencies. And one of the other issues, frankly, is the supply chain issue. And I'd like to be able to discuss that as well. I remember the supply chain for a sewer plant. We really don't need to stock up on a whole lot of toilet paper, but maybe on our chemicals that we need to keep operating in the event that it's going to become a problem to get them. So I would like to have an economist. Peter, maybe you know someone. Montera is going to be having the same subject at my request, because I think as board members, it's our responsibility when we're talking about budgets to get advice on what we're going into, because it's not going to be the same as it was a few years ago. Any other agenda items? Seeing none, do we have closed session? Oh, Barbara. I thought your hand was still up.
No, that was newly put up for this item. I just wanted to ask, I know that this is a complicated item to put together, but how it looks for us doing something about recycled water.
Yes, we discussed it in the last meeting that you wanted an agenda item, recycled water, and it was also decided that we should reach out to CCWD. I did have a meeting with the general manager of CCWD, Mary Rogren, and she felt that it was a little premature to bring anything to the SAM board right now. They are discussing various things with their board. They're also applying for grants for feasibility studies. They're in the process of hiring an engineering firm to do the feasibility study. So probably in a month or two, we will get the CCWD GM to come and give us a status update. So right now, they intend being to lead the entire recycled water project, and they're working towards grants and other requirements. I believe they're in consultation with our phone base, so together they're working on some sort of a strategy to address the recycled water in the coastside.
So they're doing feasibility studies essentially to recycle the water, the fluid that comes out of the sewer plant.
Yes, obviously. They would be using this, but still they're working on various other customers or where to put the plant, whether to put the recycle equipment and the plant inside SAM plant or put it outside so they could manage it, or what happens to the brine which comes from the recycle, a lot of things. So it's,
yeah, no, all right. I look forward to, I do think we should have that meeting, and I will leave it to you to figure out when the appropriate time is, but I just like to know what's being talked about. So,
perfect. Yeah, subsequent to our last meeting, I did reach out to them and we had a meeting. And these are all the fallouts of that.
And I would like to see, just a minute, Greg, I see your hand is up. I would very much like to see a discussion about whether, with engineers about whether we can do a distributed recycling center system so that somehow Granada can get recycled water for its parks and Montana can get recycled water for our groundwater recharge. So I don't think we want to rely on only one point of view on this discussion. Greg.
I hate to be the old guy in the room here because I know several of you have been around this issue, but the materials found on the SAM website, which I researched some time ago, show that back in 2017, in June, the SAM had spent $580,000 roughly on a study and design, of which a grant for $75,000 was part of it. And for some reason, without having an agreement that demonstrated benefit to all agencies, everybody had ponied up $500,000. So one question is, what was wrong with what was done then? At least are we going to look at it? And then I encourage you all to read the memo from Dave Dixon, which provide an outline of a business basis for the arrangement, which I found totally unacceptable. But then again, I live in Montana. So I just want to say this should not be new, start from scratch stuff. And I would hope those of you who have been around and know something about this, Rick Lohman, could chime in and, and help inform the discussion going forward. Thanks.
Yes, I'll just say some of us are post that. So it's something I'd like to know much more about.
Yep. Good. We have no topics for closed session. So
None.
let's adjourn the meeting and go relax. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right.
Night all.
Good night.
Good night.